It's Big Ears. Don't listen to us. Go finish Big Ears. Almost Agreement, almostagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. Check out our website, almostagreement.com. April 14th. Have I been saying it wrong? April 14th.
I think you've been saying that.
If I said April 13th before, it's April 14th. The day before tax day, the day before early voting starts, April 14th, at my friend's place, Relics, in the historic and wonderful Happy Holler. I will be hosting a mayoral debate. I've got all the mayoral candidates on board. They've all agreed to it. I sent out the itinerary and the couple of questions that I have that I told them I would give them a chance to prepare for, as well as let them know that we will be asking questions off the cuff, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, mark a calendar for that. Get on your favorite podcast provider. Go to your favorite social media provider. Like, friend, share, follow us. Do what you can do, sports show. Text us to your friends. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We hope you're having a great weekend, and you stick around and, I don't know, see what we chat about. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
What's new with you? What's exciting? Tell me something that happened to you that everybody needs to know about.
Yeah.
One day, we will get this done. So, April 14th. If I've said it wrong 1,000 times already, it's April 14th at Relics in Happy Holler, 8 o'clock. Like I said, I sent the itineraries out. It's the prepared questions I said I was going to ask, so... Every single one of them at this point already has access to the 25-26 budget, last year's Knox County budget. Pull that budget up. Find me one thing you don't like in there, you don't think needs to be in there, or is getting spent too much on, and what you're going to do with the money that you save by not doing that thing. And then find me one thing in there that you don't think has gotten enough money spent on it, and where you think it's going to come from. I kind of give you the answer to the second one and the first one, because you can basically say, I don't think we should be spending this much money on X, and we'll take that money and spend it on Y, because we're not spending enough money on that.
Yeah, possibly.
Because it doesn't really matter. The point of the question is not so much to figure out how you're going to deal with it or what you're going to do with the excess funding if you have extra, or where you're going to get the money from if you want to spend more in a place.
Seeing what they prioritize.
Right. The point is it's the priority thing. It's like, okay, if the analysis by most people is true with what's going on in county, that it's not about whether you want to raise taxes or not. It's about we're going to have to raise taxes because of this weird debt situation. Now, granted, the weird debt situation is temporary, and it could, if we can survive a couple of years and let this balloon thing get tended to in a couple of years down the road, we might be able to get back to, quote, normal and not have this debt obligation that's making things wonky. That's in the potential thing, but that still means we have to figure out how to pay this debt off in the interim and keep functional services alive. And again, like, I believe the math is county for Knox County government, like 60, almost 2/3, so 66, 65% or whatever that goes to Knox County schools. It cannot change. It's going there no matter what. So, it's 600 and some million out of the 1.1 billion.
Because you can never decrease funding from year to year. Is that what it is?
And right, there's all sorts of there's legal obligation to at least. You have to at least do what you did last year. You don't necessarily have to raise the amount spent in Knox County schools, but you have to at least match last year's. So no matter what, Knox County schools will be requesting the same total budget as they did last year. How they break that down, that's up to Knox County schools and Risewick and how they want to break that down. And then you've got a couple $100 million that the sheriff's office is obliged minimum. You can't take away from the sheriff's office either. I think their current budget is like 220 something million. So that gets us between the two right at 900 million of the 1.1 billion. That's spoken for. Because that's one of the things. So this week, Larson's attempt to repeal the wheel tax.
So they got delayed.
Got delayed,
July.
And so honestly, it's a fair move by the other people. Certain people that are on the commission right now are in an election cycle too, and they don't want to have to take the wrong side of this one and have to deal with that in their election. Some people are on the end of term and they're not going to come back, and they would rather vote for a tax increase or some weird tax thing when they're not worried about getting elected ever again in their future. Some people don't like Larson J and or Kim Frazier, or mainly Larson J, because this is his bill. There's certain commissioners that want to damage his mayoral campaign and think by delaying this, they can say, see, he's a failure at getting things done, and he's only trying to lower taxes, so you'll vote for him for mayor, so now he doesn't even get that chance.
Yeah. What was it they approved in that same meeting? Saw the story where they approved something, but then kicked that one down the road till like June or July.
I don't know. I'm not sure that I caught that part. And so, again, the point being is a part of that discussion. Mr. Thomas, I believe his name is, brought up the fact that like the math that I was just saying. It's like you're looking at $800 to $900 million that is spoken for no matter what. And so that wheel tax would have kicked like $11 to $15 million out of the budget. And if you say 11 million of 100 or a $1.1 billion budget, like, yeah, whatever, that's nothing.
Right.
That's a sneeze to that budget. But when you take the reality of what county commission is actually doing budget wise, which is only 200 million, maybe, all of a sudden we're at 5% of that total budget that's getting fucked with. That's a significant sum. So I don't know. I don't like the wheel tax. I think it is weird. Essentially, there was a promise to what the wheel tax is, and you guys failed that promise by doing things that aren't wheel tax. Or the wheel tax was set to do a library and some other stuff, and since you couldn't manage money well back then, you just started stealing the money from the wheel tax to put into the general fund and pay for roads and do whatever you needed to do. And so it is in a sense a double tax.
Yeah.
But it's also a usage tax, to be fair. And I don't like, if we're going to have a tax, a usage tax makes more sense to me. People who drive and register their vehicles pay a tax, and that tax goes to help pay for the roads that you're driving on. Yes, by owning property.
How do you quantify it?
But by owning property and paying property tax, at some point I'm going to drive on the roads. But you get like an old lady who owns her house and is paying property tax and never leaves her house.
So you can have people start logging their miles.
Right?
Renew your tags. You got to tell them what your mileage is.
I mean, that is something that they're talking about on the state level for registration.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Becky Massey has been testing the pilot program. It's like was it Progressive or whatever? They have that thing you stick in the computer slot.
The what?
Progressive has the auto insurance, and it's like a thing like for safe drivers, we'll give you a discount. And
right. I heard it messes with a lot of cars too.
Right, but you hook it up to that thing, and it reports to Progressive your average speed, hard braking situations, hard turning situations. So it just reports a bunch of data to Progressive that says, "Oh, this person's a good driver. We're going to pay him less, or we're going to charge them less." Which, I mean, at some levels, kind of fair, because why do I have to pay more for insurance because you drive like shit? I guess. But that being said, the point of insurance is that we're all covering each other's asses. So just because I'm better at it doesn't mean I shouldn't. I don't know. Insurance is a weird subtax anyway, so I'm not sure how I'd argue against insurance, but that's not the point right now. So anyway, it goes back to the core question. The core question to me, and I think this is the number one thing. My youngest is doing his musical right now. That's why I'm not at Big Ears. And my parents came, and I'm not sure how we got on the subject, but they asked me who to vote for, and I was like, well, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. What's important to you? And, well, what are the issues that matter? And it's like, again, what's important to you? And I failed that because I didn't get that answer before I started ranting and raving about my different issues with the different candidates, which, to be fair, I have issues with all the candidates except for Bohawk because I don't know anything about him yet.
I thought you went to his website once.
I think we did, but I don't I mean, he's some pretty run-of-the-mill Dem shit.
Yeah.
Bohawk for Knox County mayor. Handsome fella. Needs to get his razor blade out if he's going to bother with his shaving at all. Bo is a labor leader and community advocate running for mayor to fight for real affordability and results for the people who make community great. Hawk was raised by a single mom who earned a living cleaning houses, instilling him the dignity of hard work. Okay, I don't really care. On the issues, quote, I believe we have more in common with each other than we do with the good old boy system that's run Knox County government, and I believe it's time for a change. I'm running because I'm tired of seeing the real struggles of everyday people ignored by the status quo politicians who have made Knox County a harder place to raise a family. I'll bring Knox County residents together around a common sense platform to build affordable, prosperous future for us all. All right, tell me more about that platform, bruh. Bo, on the issues. Building housing we can actually afford. Housing isn't a luxury, it's a right. Okay. Bo will fight to make housing affordable for the people who actually live and work in Knox County, not the interest of developers and hedge fund pricing residents out. How? Bo knows the housing crisis in Knox County is a supply problem, plain and simple, and he knows how to balance the need for affordable housing with the challenges of growth by reducing sprawl, protecting the rural character that makes Knox County home. Bo will take the abundance approach. We have everything we need if we remove barriers, build smart, include varied price points, and most importantly, grow where infrastructure already exists. Again, how? Bo is a renter himself. Bo knows renters deserve dignity, power, and more options, and he'll work to stop corporate landlords from turning our communities into profit machines. Again,
Bo knows.
Huh?
Bo knows.
Again, how? I'm not disagreeing with the ideas of what are important here, but how you're going to execute said ideas, I have many questions. Bo believes every student deserves, public education and vocational training. You know how I feel about mayor's candidates talking about education.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what he's got to say. Public education and vocational training. Bo believes every student deserves a real future, whether it's college, the military, or a skilled trade. He'll fight to reinvest in public education, expand high school voucher programs, or vocational programs. Whoa, woo, woo. Sorry, that was a little Freudian slip on my part. My bad. Let me just scratch that from the record, people. Let me reread this sentence, because I said vouchers, and that is not at all what it says, and I didn't mean to, and I apologize. Bo believes every student deserves a real future, whether it's college, the military, or a skilled trade. He'll fight to reinvest in public education, expand high school vocational programs, and take on the billionaires and special interests coming into Tennessee to privatize our schools. I don't know. Do I need to say, or do you want to say what I'm going to say? It's the same question I've asked at every one of his points so far. It's how.
All right.
This one more specifically, because the other ones are theoretically within the mayor's purview. But how? I mean, yes. No, I don't even know. I think technically the mayor could add to the school's request. Knox County Schools and the Ryswick and them, they create a budget and they present it to the mayor, and the mayor adds it to his budget.
Yeah.
Sometimes the mayor will take chunks out because he doesn't have there's no money there for it or whatever it is. But for the most part, whatever Knox County Schools ask for is what they get. Because Knox County Schools ask for the minimum that they can get away with, because they know that Knox County is going to only give them as much as they would. It's kind of a handshake deal, apparently. It's kind of one of those, Ryswick and the school board doesn't want to put the mayor and county commission in a bad position by asking for an astronomical number and forcing the mayor to cut it back. Because the mayor doesn't necessarily have a choice in cutting it back, but he has to cut it back, and then they're going to make him look bad. I guess they could if they wanted to be dicks. But they usually, as far as I gather, 9 times out of 10, the school board presents a budget to the mayor's office, and the mayor takes it in full. I don't know if the mayor is allowed to say, ask for more, or resubmit that to me with some more stuff on it, or even, well, you asked for $600 million, I'm going to put $650 million in your guys' budget. Deal with the other 50 how you want. I don't even know if they're allowed to do that.
Can he, he was talking about increasing vocational, could he start a program that wouldn't be affected by the school's budget, kind of outside the school budget?
There is some stuff that Jacobs has got some stuff like that too. Or there's some,
or it doesn't come out of the school budget.
Right. It feels like after school programming, but it's a county education program that's maybe uses school facilities and does some stuff like that, but it's outside of, not dissimilar to that prison that was used in the vocational building of a high school that we were talking about a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Same principle, I would assume. Maybe it's one of those that the county, it might be a way that the county sneaks in a couple extra bucks to the school system because they pay to rent the space as well or something like that.
Right.
But for the most part, I don't know that they can just do it. I think it's stuff yes, I think they could do a vocational program. They could do a partnership where Knox County is paying, the Tennessee School of Applied Technology a subsidy to do a program that's designed for younger students that are coming after schools.
Right.
They could do some stuff in that one particular thing. But as far as what do you say, like military preparation that Knox County Schools does, which is one of the things in Ryswick's, like that says, like there's three potential outcomes that he wants for all Knox County students, which are exactly these same three: college, skilled trade, or military ready. Mm-hmm. Which you can now be 42.
I saw that.
I aged out of that one too. Whew. I don't have any. That's
just for actually just like straight up wanting to enlist.
Right.
I think that's outside of the draft.
I don't have a possession.
I don't know if they've changed the draft ages.
And I don't have a simple possession of marijuana charge, so I don't have to worry about that part.
I think they said they were going to overlook some kind of drug charges or
that's what I'm saying.
Small crimes.
They're simple possession of marijuana. It's marijuana specifically. Any other possession or criminal charge relating from drugs other than marijuana is still a disqualifier to enlist. Which I might just put some heroin in my kid's pocket and walk him through some security thing so he can have a heroin possession charge to make sure he can't get.
I think I saw I think it was in like the Nashville area where there was some dad that went in. For some reason, he had kids that were going to elementary school, but he went to the high school to enroll them. I don't know if that's just how the school system does it, but apparently I guess they had metal detectors there, and he was going through, and he had a gun on him and some weed on him. So he got buzzed for both.
Don't be dumb.
Yeah, a little bit. I did find they okayed the new juvenile center leadership.
That's what they passed. Yeah, that one was kind of a gimme.
Yeah, I'm assuming that was like on the second reading type or whatever. It wasn't actually anything new.
Yeah.
I saw they okayed something. I was trying to figure out what it was.
No, that's fair. No, that was on the consent agenda, I believe. Like when they talked about it, when they talk about it in their work session. If they don't they basically when they talk about it in work session, they'll say, "Do we need to vote on this on the event?" And they'll say, "Nah, we're all agree on it." And so they put it on the consent agenda. Which means they still talk it's still.
We're going to bring it up. We're all going to say yes, right?
Okay. Cool. It's still going to be on the floor, and it's still going to have its active, public input hearing portion and stuff like that they do with everything. But if there's no need to talk about it, they don't talk about it, and they just move on. Which is fair if it's something that everybody agrees on going in. What's the point? But nonetheless. I don't know. I'm curious. I guess that apparently the group that the commission had put together to go workshop the best ways to do this, that was their conclusion in talking to other municipalities and their juvenile systems and this, that, and the other. The quote unquote most effective system tended to be running through the judge's office,
right?
Which, I guess, except part of the Richard Bean story from Politico or whatever it was a couple of years ago, where they did a whole snapshot of the Tennessee juvenile court system and all the problems with it and juvenile detention. That story that included Knox County and the Bean Center, one of the bigger, crazier parts of that story was I think it was a Murfreesboro judge that there's a Murfreesboro juvenile court judge that was this bitch was crazy, and I don't use bitch lightly, but she was simple little offenses, throwing these kids in jail in their version of juvie, but their version of juvie was jail,
right.
And she was using solitary confinement as often and as possible, but the county DA's office would come in on a case with some of these juvenile cases and be we think probation's fine, it's first offense, all this kind of stuff. The prosecutor is we know this was a mistake from this kid. We feel like this is we feel like this process is enough punishment. They've been through a lot. Let's let him get back into his life. And that judge would be nope, 6 months.
Yeah.
9 months. And then once he gets in there, it would be, you know, infraction this, infraction that, and that 9 months turns to 2 years and all this kind of shit and whatever. And so, like, it's like, okay, well, if the judge is cool, which I don't know if Irwin's cool or not, never met the man, but let's assume for the sake of conversation that that judge is cool. That's going to be, I could see that being a little bit more of a good system because, you know, the more kids you put in the juvie system and you have to oversee it, the more work you're making for yourself. So at some level, it's kind of a deterrent for you to overuse the system. Hopefully. Maybe it's not. But if you're this psycho chick from Murfreesboro that we were talking, that this whole crazy story was about, that doesn't seem like a good thing to me to then give her authority over the place that she loves sending kids. Because she loves
punishing.
She loved punishing kids. Like, that's what it seemed like from the story, at least. And, well, she was only doing half the punishment as the judge. Now she gets to be the judge and the jailer. And she might have a little bit too much fun, and that's concerning.
Right.
Now, you know, again, this one includes an oversight board that's appointed by elected officials, and there's lots of parts and pieces of this one that should ensure some level of, like, hey, wait a second. You know, I got appointed by county commission to keep an eye on what's going on here, and there's some fuckery. And I'm bringing it to attention.
Right. Because I guess the judge doesn't have sole discretion on any kind of...
Right. Like, the oversight board is, I think, one or two, like, I think it's like a 5 or 7 member, and the judge gets to assign a couple, county commission gets to assign a couple, the mayor's office gets a couple, and then there's, like, one that's automatically from a certain standard position that comes in, or, like, yeah, one's got to be in the youth medical, and then there's, like, a youth mental health that comes from the Department of Human Services or something like that. Like, there's some, like, you know, okay, we have, you know, or maybe it's Department of Child Services has a mental health person that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's part of the oversight board, not just, you know. And so you have Child Services that's actually going and doing audits on the places, and you also have a member of that group that's on the oversight board. So it should be, like, structurally it makes sense that it should work okay this way. I'm not mad that it's not in the sheriff's office, to be honest. I think that's a net win. But
they've got enough to deal with.
I mean, they got it right, guys. Right. Because 287G, and that's starting to become part of this mayor's race because Betsy apparently has been bragging on her social media about being the only candidate talking about trying to get the sheriff's office to include the enforcement part of 287G as part of their program.
I want to say there's a bill that will require all sheriffs.
There were a couple of different bills that were floating around the state. I haven't kept up with them, what their status is. A couple of the gay bills got shut down, which is kind of fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, our very own Dr. Richard Briggs had one of the ugliest, dumbest quotes that didn't make a bit of fucking sense on the topic. He's the chair of whatever subcommittee it died in, and he ended up voting for it. There's a 9-member subcommittee. The vote was 3-3-3. 3 yeas, 3 nays, and 3 present non-voting. He, as the chair, was one of the 3 voting for it. And I don't know if it was before or after the vote came through. The quote was something along the lines, I am strongly paraphrasing here, Mr. Briggs, please don't sue me. It was something along the lines of, you know, we don't want, you know, anybody, you know, showing a flag on their desk for just anything. You know, what happens if we have an ISIS flag or a Nazi flag? And it's like, okay, that's a valid point. Except there's no law right now specifically saying they can't have a Nazi flag or an ISIS flag on their desk or a lapel pin, or that you can't have a coffee cup that says I love ISIS, because it's any display of pride stuff is what they're technically going after.
Yeah,
a public employee in a public workspace displaying pride things or something like that is what this bill was kind of chasing. And it's like, okay, but nobody's doing that. Is there a concern that people are going to start doing that? Are we really trying to equate ISIS? I mean, and again, from a certain subset of the population, it is probably true that they equate pride with ISIS. Like, it's the same level of evil to them. I don't understand why people think that, why anybody could possibly think that way, but I can understand that those people do exist. I probably could find a few walking down the street in my neighborhood right now if I tried hard enough. Like the guy I met last week with this weird polk core flag. He probably feels like the gayness is as evil as the terrorists. because it's an abomination to God or whatever in the southern whatever. I don't know, whatever. I don't fucking know. But but I think that's what's interesting about it is like randomly having that story I told last week about dude in the flag is why this bill makes no sense. It's like, sure, I would be perfectly fine I wouldn't be perfectly fine. I'd be quite upset. But if I went into the DMV and the person sitting there across from me at the DMV I'm doing my paperwork with them, and they, reach over and they grab their coffee mug and they take a sip, and there's a big old swastika on it. I'd be pissed off. Am I going to say they can't do that? No. Am I going to ask them to get fired? Maybe. But at minimum, I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm going to wait till the next person. I'm going to go grab a new number. I don't want to deal with you. I think we'd be in a better world if everybody just flagged their stupidity right in front of everybody. I think it'd be good for everybody. If you're into Nazi shit, great. Wear an armband. I know, just like again, with my stupid story about the guy in the truck last week, if I see that flag somewhere else, I'm going to know instinctively I probably don't want to interact with that person. Because there is no version of that flying that flag except for one very, very specific, like, Polka's your great-great-granddad kind of shit. And even that's a little wonky. There's no version of you wanting to fly that flag that's going to say, I think you're a cool person. Because you're signaling your Southern pride, if you were going to put the generous phrasing on it. You're signaling it in a cowardly way because you're not even bothering going full stars and bars. You're not even signaling it in a way where everybody knows exactly what the fuck you're talking about. You're doing it in a low-key way. And I respect it for being kind of clever, but it's like, well, you're kind of being a pussy. Like, hey, if you want your Southern heritage kind of bullshit and you want everybody to know that you want to go back to the way things were around here, then fly the flag that everybody knows what the fuck you're talking about. Instead of a weird, obscure one that only a handful of people know, and only people that are going to know what it is are the people that probably agree with you anyway.
Yeah.
And so again, it's an identifier. There's like, I think we should. Like, I was joking with Scott about it earlier today. It's like, it's people that do tattoos on their faces. Like, you can't get mad at me for judging you by putting a tattoo on your face. Like, you can get upset if I judge you because of the color of your skin, because of that natural crooked-ass nose that your mom birthed you with or whatever. That's not fair. It's not fair of me to judge you for something that you have no choice in. But if you make some stupid fucking life choice and put a big swastika on your forehead and tattoo it there forever, if I choose not to affiliate with you or spend any time with you because you made that life choice, that doesn't make me the bad person. Maybe it makes me a little bit shallow, but not really. You chose to put that out there in front of everybody, and you need to deal with the consequences of what that means. Because you chose that.
It's like American History X, where he had the big one on his chest. You have to take your shirt off to see that.
Right. Again, like, I'm still, like, I don't give a shit, tattoo your face if you want to. Personally, I would never get another tattoo that I can't cover if I want to.
Right.
I think that's a fair rule, and I know a lot of artists used to play by that rule. A lot of tattoo artists would be like, I don't do tattoos anywhere that people can't cover if they want. They're like, I don't do face, I don't do heads. They don't that used to be kind of like one of the unwritten rules of the tattoo game, but that's gone by the wayside over the years. Again, like, Jelly Roll seems like a cool dude, but if he wasn't super famous, I'd be like, I'm gonna go over here, buddy. Have a good night.
I don't know, like the side of the head becoming like more popular.
Yeah,
or a lot of people going on like side of the neck and stuff.
Yeah, we're going way up the neck, right up behind the ear. Like the girls like the ones like right behind the ear. Like on their
which isn't as noticeable depending on how big it is.
But again, like, I don't give a shit if that's what you want to do, fine. But don't get mad if people look at you sideways.
Right.
Like, because part of the reason you did it was so that people would look at you weird.
I look at you
weird.
Or
at least it gave you attention. Same reason kids throw shit when in the classroom in elementary school. They weren't taught that there are different types of attention. All they want is attention. They don't care if it's good or bad. It's the same mentality of that. It's like, I want attention. I don't care if people are giving me attention because they hate me or because they love me. I just want attention. And, through poor parenting and, shitty circumstances, some kids don't ever learn that lesson. They grow up not understanding the difference between good and bad attention, and they just want attention, period. So, anyway, point is, I think it's, I think it should be encouraged to I think everybody in every state office, any government office in the state of Tennessee should have a flag stand on their desk that's like permanently affixed to the desk. It just sits there. And if you want to put a flag in it, you can put a flag in it. If you don't, you don't. But the flag stands there to encourage you to be like, what kind of flag what flag represents me? I'd say a lot of people just do American flags and don't think about it. If they're going to, like, I would be, maybe that's it. Maybe the rule is you have to fly a flag on your desk if you work for the state of Tennessee or any government in the state of Tennessee. You can pick whichever one you want. I'm not going to tell you which one you want. You want to fly, if you want to fly the Catholic flag, that weird yellow and white flag that the Catholics do.
Yeah.
Or if you want to do the Christian flag, which is the white flag with the little red cross. Whatever you want to do, you can do the Star of David. I see that one actually bothers me more. Like, is there a Jewish flag that isn't the flag of Israel?
Possibly, but
like I would find that. I guess maybe that's my point. I would find that more objectionable if, on a very superficial level, if I went into the Knox County DMV and some person had like a Colorado state flag on their desk, or I'm trying to think of a milquetoast country that nobody really hates, but would be just like not American, like a Peruvian flag on their desk.
Yeah, I was about to say you could turn it into a learning thing if it's like a social studies class or whatever, and every week or once a month you put a different flag in there. The kids have to figure out what it is, and might encourage them to learn about this country.
But I would say, but right, because that's the other part of it is because all teachers are state employees, and that's one of the targets of the bill is writing. It's like, oh well, any of our thousands of teachers that happen to be at part of the LGBT community can't fly up their pride flag on their desk, which there's part of me that I kind of can get on board with the premise of it, but it's like one of those. That's not one that's worth. To me, that's not one that's worth picking the fight. Because again, it does like Briggs's example. His theoretical makes sense. Like if I walked into my kid's history class and they were in the middle of studying World War II. And he had the full Nazi flag, like a full 4-inch version of the Nazi flag, red flag, white circle, black swastika on his desk. Even if they're in the middle of studying that shit, I'd be like, buddy, I don't know. Not sure that's a good idea. Not sure I'm comfortable with that. Now, you take all of that context I just forced on the situation out, and it's just a Tuesday in math class, and the teacher has a Third Reich flag on their desk. There's going to be problems. And it's a fair premise. It's not accurate in function, but it's a fair premise to say, yeah, that would be a problem.
What if they had the...
and would it be okay in the same way that we want to get rid of gay teachers that we got rid of Nazi teachers?
Right. What if they had the Hindu flag, but then kind of like turned the flag itself kind of like 45-degree askew, which is what the Nazi flag does with the swastika.
I know it's weird. Like, I mean, I know it's the correct original version of it, but like seeing the old statues and stuff where they have them on it, like I can't help it. Like we have been so washed into the idea of the evil of that you see it and you go, ooh.
Right.
And they're like, oh, wait a minute. This is before that.
Right. Yeah, it's like 2,000-3,000 years old.
Yeah. So anyway, I think
that was one of the bills that failed.
Yeah, that one failed. And then
that just had to do with displaying the pride flag.
Right. Well, Pride Flag or Pride Month or something, like it's just like putting any government employees in the role of their duty, having any display of pride awareness kind of shit. It gets dumb. It's like we use like what's the purple ribbon and the yellow ribbon? Like
it's different cancer awarenesses.
Like is that one of the like okay, so you can't wear the yellow ribbon for cancer awareness anymore? Like if that's how we want to do it, okay, well then just take it all out. There's to be no displays of anything personal in the workspace for any government employee.
We're no longer going to be aware of breast cancer awareness.
I mean, that's got its own problems. I mean, in and of itself as a function of charitableness.
Yeah.
The pink one and the yellow one, it's like, are there people that aren't aware that need to be aware? Like, do we need to be raising money so that you can do an awareness campaign? How about let's raise money to do some research?
All right.
Let's do a research ribbon and stop thinking that
raise money to make some more flyers.
I get, but like seriously, like, is there anybody who's not aware that breast cancer exists? Do we need to do an awareness campaign? Like, I understand, like, like I could see a nonprofit rolling up in the early stages of a thing, like, as like we've had. I think we actually have Bike Walk Knoxville is a good example. Like Bike Walk Knoxville it's an awareness nonprofit. Their whole premise is to get people in Knoxville, Knox County, aware of their non-driving options to get from A to B, but also to get people who drive aware that there are people who walk and bike, and there are other options that people take. Like, that's the whole premise of the nonprofit. That makes sense because Knox County and the city of Knoxville, until recently, weren't particularly pedestrian and bike friendly. The city has done a lot to get more pedestrian and bike friendly, and so there's a lot of awareness that needs to be made happen.
She's still confused with some of the crossings. There's one on Ebenezer that's relatively new, but I think it's got like lights that'll blink, but I don't know if you have to actually stop for the crosswalk. Because it seemed like randomly that like warned you that, hey, there's like a bike pedestrian crossing ahead.
Well, usually the ones that have there's crosswalks now that are non-intersection ones that have the button. And
right.
When the pedestrian hits the button,
if you're required to stop for them, if there's somebody trying to cross.
I mean, it's a good. It's a right of way question. Who has the right of way? I would think that if you are in the if there is a human on a bike or walking at that crosswalk and you hit them, you are probably at fault if the light's flashing. It's a weird one, though. I agree.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I didn't mean to go on the awareness thing. What was I talking about right before that? I had another point to finish. Oh, the other gay thing was the allowing private industry to not recognize gay marriages.
Yeah, okay.
Which, again, like, I have mixed feelings on that. Like, on the surface level, it's like, I don't care. You know, like, if you married your boyfriend and you were my employee and you wanted your boyfriend to count as your spouse on your insurance, fine. But there are some weird implications there, especially when you get into...
Well, that's more in your insurance company's acceptance of...
Right, and that would be the question, because would that be an opportunity for a Blue Cross Blue Shield or whatever to be like, yeah, this is the rules for what counts as a spouse.
Right.
And it has to be of the other gender. That would give them the legal right to do that. Would they or would they not? I don't know. I could see on the economic standpoint that, you know, the less people you give a discount to on a plan, the more money you're going to rake in, right?
Possibly, yeah.
You know, usually it's the employee. If depending on what the company does in matching and paying percentage or whatever, but like the raw numbers, the employee is usually like, if it's an employee by themselves, a couple $100. If it's an employee and a spouse, it's that couple $100 plus another 100. Like, it's plus 50% or so of the original. And then if it's family, it's plus 60, 65%. Usually the kids are usually cheap because realistically, other than broken bones and silly random
dental
stuff, there's not a lot of stuff that kids really get. Like, you know, childhood cancers and, you know, major illnesses, usually kids don't get a lot of those.
Right.
And so generally kids insurance is usually a cheap tack on or whatever. Point being, that one didn't pass. And I don't know, it's like, again, like I said, like I see parts of it that make that would, I could understand the business decision to not recognize it. I could understand, like, you know, you have a faith-based hospital organization that visitation for a person in the ICU is immediate family only, and they don't recognize the gay marriage. So since you and I are married and you got hit by a truck, I couldn't visit you in the ICU because they don't recognize our marriage. Because that's the policy of the place, is we you know, it's only immediate family, and we don't recognize, you know, which feels like a weird thing to do. But again, I could see it being something that would be done. And in a couple of those examples, because of the way our health system works and stuff like that, that's not okay. Only because of the way our health system works, not because, like...
But some of that's also tied to, you know, in a severe case, what do they call it? Person that has
executor.
An executor, yeah.
Right, right. Again, if you and I are married and you die, generically, that would, you know, a lot of the, you know, the assets and stuff would come to me as the spouse. Yeah. But
power of attorney, I think was the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Medical decisions would be another one. Yes. Yeah, but yeah, right. So okay, yeah, you get hit by said bus, and you're on life support, and it's a pull the plug kind of situation, and I don't get a say in that because
the next other closest to kin is like a second cousin,
right? And they have more say than I do as your spouse because the hospital doesn't recognize me as your spouse,
right?
Or you die, and you have told me a million times that you want to be cremated, and the second cousin comes in and be like, no, we bury in this family.
All right.
And it's like, look, man, you know, I mean, again, like the second cousin is a homophobe, you know, and hates me because I turned you gay or whatever. That's their thought process on it. Or, you know, like those families still exist. It's unfortunately true, but those families still exist. That the immediate actual like blood relative family, you know, blames their child's gayness on their spouse. And so when a situation like that came up, they're not going to do what this spouse says. They're going to do what they want to do. And it's like, well, and again, I get that. That would be bad. But the inverse of it, it's like, I don't know. As a private business owner myself, I don't personally care. You know, like we're weird. Like I don't know of any other company that does what we do. We do a +1 for every employee. So like generically, it was like, you know, you're our employee, you get an employee discount. Well, you get +1 because it's not fair that the other employee, their spouse gets to use their discount and you don't just because you're not married.
Right.
And so we made it a rule that everybody, you know, regardless of relationship status or whatever, you can do a +1. It doesn't even have to be your spouse. Even if you are married, it can be somebody else. Like we have one employee that his dad is his +1.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Because you guys to do.
Because to us, that seemed like the fair thing to do. Like if just because you're married, you get one, then that person can get one too. Sounds like a win to me for all involved. So, you know, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Like that one I have more hesitation over. Like the flag one I actually kind of liked for my stupid reasons that I mentioned already. But the idea of forcing me as a private business, you know, it goes back to the cupcake or the wedding cake thing in Oregon or Colorado or whatever that one happened.
All right.
You know, the more I've learned about that, the more the circumstances make me more firm in my rage over the topic. But it's like, you know, making me do something I don't want to do, I don't know, seems kind of ridiculous. As a private business owner, like it's like, okay, you know, at least right now I can't legally fire, hire, or not employ you because of your status, right? Like, you know, like if like I can't cite the reason I fired you is because you're gay.
Right.
That would be a federal civil rights violation. So, you know, you're working for your little file. I find it out. I can't fire you, but I have to respect all the parts and pieces of what that is. I don't know. It seems kind of dumb. You know, on a couple of levels, it seems kind of dumb. It seems dumb to want to do it too. To be fair, I'm not trying to advocate for people being homophobes about this. I'm just saying it seems kind of dumb to force me to care too. So it's kind of a weird spot. But it's dead in Tennessee, so you know, any of our fringe cases that could theoretically happen. Because again, I mean, the problem with that one too is that what's his name, Bolso, that's one of his bills. Like he hit his max of
Gino.
He hit his max of introduced bills on all cultural conservatism issues. Like all his shit was immigration, LGBTQ, like all his stuff is that shit. And so it's like the problem with it, like the problem with me with it is he couldn't explain what the point was. Like he's like, oh, we just want to, we want to affirm this thing so that people know where they stand. It's like, but it doesn't do that. Nobody knows what it's actually going to do, and there's all these things it could do, and we're theorizing that it might do, and the way the language is written, it would certainly open the door for people to do. Is that what you wanted to do? No, we just want to make sure that people know that they have that the government backs them up to make decisions in their own personal business. It's like, yeah, but, is this what you wanted to do? Well, no, it's like, okay, well, if you can't answer what you wanted to do, I can't vote for it.
Right.
I can't support it if you don't have an intent with this. And it goes back to one of those things that we've talked about a million times. Again, this flag one that Bolso was the one that introduced this display of pride shit, whatever thing too. And it's like, who asked for this? That great question that you ask a lot. It's like, was this where did this idea come from for you? That you decided that you would figure out how to write this idea down in bill format and introduce it. Like who told you? Who asked you about it? Is it somebody that lives in your district? Is this just something you personally want to do? Is that your job? That's the one to me. It's like, if I'm elected as senator of the state of Tennessee, is that election tell me that I can create bills and try to get them passed because of my prerogative personally? Or is it supposed to be, you guys elected me so that I could get stuff done for you. And it seems a little ridiculous that I would assume that something that I care about is something that you guys care about. Or is that... Maybe, I don't know. Help me out. Are you getting what I'm getting at here?
As far as a constituent questioning how that legislation is going
I'm
to
just saying,
benefit them?
okay, so just through the long way around, or maybe the more directly here, is like, I get elected. I get elected running on a couple of different issues. Something that was not part of the campaign, something that was not discussed as part of the campaign, something that was not a surprise per se that people knew about me, but I didn't run on it, right? But there's some little fringe issue that was part of me, and everybody knew it was part of me. But nobody in my district really wants anything to do with that or necessarily cares anything about that particular issue. But since I was elected, do I get to go chase down my personal pet project? Is that what I was elected to do just because people were aware of it? Or maybe not aware of it for that matter? Or should I be sticking to the things that I ran on and then the things that are brought to me from my constituents at the time that I'm there? I mean, to me, like you know, my interpretation of it is always, it's like, I'm like, you know, like if I'm running for office, I am an empty vessel. I'm here to do what you guys want me to do. If this is something you want me to push for, if this is something you want me to work on, if this is something you want me to leave alone, that's my take on it. My take is not my ideals. Like, I'm going to introduce things. I'm going to say, hey, this is something I think is cool and I think we should do. What do you guys think?
Right.
And if you guys hate it, and every single one that I put out there, you guys hate, I shouldn't have been elected. You shouldn't have voted for me.
I mean, I'd say if there's enough like constituent support, there's a number of, you know, that have been calling the office about a particular thing that's outside of what he ran on.
Right,
I don't
yes,
see
100%. Yeah, 100%
right.
on that. If it's something that is brought to you by your constituents, or it even is a pet project, and you kind of, you know, gerbil it out there to your constituents, and like, yeah, I think you should do something like that.
I'd say to some extent, you know, they see what their other colleagues are, or if there's a bill that's kind of in the wheelhouse of something they ran on, or one of their pet projects.
You know, I truly believe in the state house. Freshman lawmakers, first time you get in there, the party is telling you what you're doing, who you're doing it for, and when you're doing it.
Yeah.
I think very few are, and somewhat understandably, because there's a lot going on, and you don't know how to manage all that stuff going on at one time, that the party apparatus, whether it's the party proper or other members of the party, are coming to you saying, this is what we're doing. Yeah. Do this, take care of that, do that.
Put yourself down as a co-sponsor.
Right. You know, sign this one, put it in the thing, have your assistant bring it to my office, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I think there's a lot of that. I think, honestly, I honestly think there's some, I think there's, I'm trying to think. I think the state of Tennessee has a collective of, I don't know, what do we have? What do we figure out? We got 33 senators and 99 House members, right?
Nah, I'm not sure.
Pretty sure that's right. There's three House members per senator. And I think it's pretty sure it's 99. Even though we have 100 and something different, or the district numbers go up to like 120 something, but we subtracted district numbers over the years, the whole thing. Anyway, you know, so that's, I think of those 122 people or whatever, 132 people, excuse me, and the governor, so 133. I think there's maybe 10 that really do anything. Everybody else is doing what they're told from those 10. That's my gut reaction to what's going on. Spiky Lamberth, your dude up in Anderson County in the Senate, who's retiring this year.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's some firebrand guys that are out there that their job is to do the FaceTime, get out there, get in the media, stir the shit, do that kind of stuff. That's their job. But I think at the end of the day, I think there's only a couple dozen people that are really creating specific laws to make functional changes in Tennessee. I don't, you know, I mean, I say that when I think, you know, I think an example, one that would be trackable, that to go back a little bit in the history books, is that Elaine Davis introducing the law that changed Knoxville and Morristown's municipal voting.
All right.
Now, that is something that was very specifically, uniquely important to Eric Wider, who is, as the flyer we saw a couple weeks ago says, is the puppet master. Elaine is one of his puppets. That's something that was very intentionally important to Eric Wider and his campaign for future city elections and stuff like that. And so I'd be curious to kind of follow the path of how that thing got really rolling, because he used Elaine to get it moving. But I don't think, like, Elaine as a freshman rep, I don't think she had the clout to really put some power behind that. I think Eric probably sold that. I would bet you one of those 10 or 12 that I'm talking about that's been in office for a long time was the first co-spot, was probably the originator of it, because Eric asked them to do it, but then they handed it to Elaine, A, to give Eric credit, but B, because that person already had enough bills that because they only can present so many every year.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, well, Elaine's new. She doesn't have anything going on. She can take these 5 bills that I want to get done this year, and she can present them because I've already got my max.
I'm sure that happens to an extent.
I know it happens to it. It's not that absolutely happens a lot. I think extent is an understatement. But, again, but I guess it goes back, and I'll reiterate and repeat myself from the last couple of weeks. I'm still struggling with this premise that if you are a Lamberth, or what's his name up there? I'm blanking on your guy.
Oh, Faison?
No, the senator, the retiring senator, the guy's the retiring senator, McNally.
Oh, okay.
If you're a McNally or a Lamberth or a Sexton, or these top guys that we always hear in the news all the time, kind of stuff, like these people, how do you getting reelected in certain seats is not, I wouldn't count that as wins. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they count it as wins. I think they count those as inevitables. How do you argue that you're being successful in your work if you're a Lamberth or a Sexton? Like, at the end of the day, when you New Year's Eve and you're sitting with some buddies and you're talking about the year that was this a successful year for me as Speaker Sexton? Did I get some things done that were important this year? And you're kind of doing your year in view. Like, I don't know if you're looking at yourself in a successful manner. I would think that one of the factors as a legislator like that is the influx of growth in the state is a win. That's a sign of success for you. We have built a state that people want to be in.
Would you put any added weight if they had legislation that does tend to help their districts?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or just helps their party or helps their ends, whatever their ends are. Because you're right. Because to be fair, I might be overthinking it. Because maybe they don't give a shit about growth and about how much people want to be here. They just want to build a thing. Like, it. Maybe the envy part of what I'm considering a success is that people are envious of people that live here and want to be people that live here. I think that would be definitionally envy, right? Yeah. Maybe that's a byproduct. Maybe it just happens to be a byproduct of their own ends, and they don't think of it as success. They don't think of it as something that they're like, hey, we had 1 million people move to Tennessee over the last decade. That's because of the things we've done. Maybe they don't think of it that way. Maybe that we got this shit done and people came as a byproduct, whatever. I'd say
there's enough small towns that are like, we don't like that, we were 7,000 people and now we're 12,000 people.
I mean, again, that's one of those, like, you know how I feel in the growth conversations. Like, but again, and it's we've talked about it a million times, but I think you're wrong. I think you're right in the sense that people aren't consciously like making a checklist and going like, well, how did the governor act about this situation? Or what's the lieutenant governor's stance on why? I don't think people are thinking that when they're deciding to move to Tennessee. I think it's bottom line cost, number 1A. But I think most people, even if they're not politically active people, understand that some of that is downstream from government. Because they've got to be sitting, like, if you're leaving California to move to Tennessee, or you want to get out of California, why do you want to get out of California?
It's too hot.
I don't think that's a generic answer.
Right.
Why do you want to leave California? I'm in LA, like, the homelessness is going crazy. The cost of living is ridiculous. Like, all these reasons people cite for leaving are all downstream from government. Like some of it's inevitable. Like homelessness is inevitable. It's extra inevitable in places that are comfortable to be outside all the time.
Right.
Like the homelessness in Hawaii is a big problem because
Florida, yeah, it's
comfortable. Like you can just sleep on the beach, and it's as long as the typhoon's not coming through, it's not a bad place to sleep.
Right.
But so some of that is that, but there's other stuff too that's like, but there's stuff that's there's reasons why you're leaving, and especially if it's not because of a job moving you or some like an opportunity came up to move you. It's like I just want to get out of here. All those reasons you want to get out of here are downstream from government. Maybe you don't understand it, and maybe you're not, maybe you don't see the straight line from what government did to this particular thing that makes you hate living here. And then the inverse is true on the other side. So the thing that I hate about where I'm living doesn't happen over here. I want to go there. Right. Well, both those things are somewhere downstream from government of the local governments in play. Because if they weren't, then they would if it was all federal government, if we had one singular thing, we wouldn't have certain problems, or we would have the same problems everywhere and the same positives everywhere, other than the natural. This is the earth and the way the earth works parts. So, I think you are correct in that people aren't consciously saying, "Well, the Democrats did this, that's why I'm leaving. I'm going to a Republican place." I don't think people are thinking of it that explicitly. But I do think people have some, at least minimal amount of understanding that there is some downstream, something that they don't like is downstream from government.
I think there's a good bit of generalization of, like tax policy or some bigger legislation that may dissuade someone from staying in that area. To where I think when they look at that new place, I don't think they're looking at a lot of legislation that's been passed. There's probably more like a couple tax is probably a big one.
Right, but it's the same thing. But it's okay, so one of the things that I've heard, at least I don't know, I haven't been in California in a very, very, very long time, but it's the way the spending on home, the amount that's spent and collected in taxes and stuff like that they say they're spending on homelessness, and the problem is as bad or worse for the oodles and noodles of money they spend on it.
Right.
And it's we're spending all this money, and there's still all these homeless around. They're not spending the money, and there's not nearly as many homeless around. Again, it's not a specific policy. It's a policy that they're doing that we're not doing. And so you're not looking at it like it's a specific policy. You're just looking at the result of policy or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people are doing, is that it's the result of policy. Again, I think it's all result of policy, not what the policy is. Because they don't necessarily know what the policy is, but the results are bad. So let's get out of here. I don't know what the policy is, but it looks better over there. Let's go over there.
Yeah.
I think that's probably generically how it kind of breaks down. That was a fun, good ramble. I like that. You want to go back to Bo? We started this episode on Bo.
Is there more on it?
I don't know. It was just
more you want to talk on?
Stronger. I don't know. I haven't read through this thing. I was just kind of going through it. Is there something else you got going on that I want that?
No, I did see one story. I don't know if you ever heard of, I guess, if in the state house, if something's, and they place it behind the budget. Have you ever heard that term?
Yeah.
I was not aware of that.
It's not fundable in the current budget.
Yeah, I guess if it would detract or majorly, I think, affect the budget that's already been passed for that year, if it affects it at all.
Yeah, it's a polite
way
to
basically kick the bill down the road, and they're like, "No, we're going to put that behind the budget."
Yeah, it's a kick the can. It's we're not killing it, but we can put it over there. If the governor wants to make room in the budget for whatever this thing is that's going to have this cost.
Yeah.
If there's room, if the governor wants to make room in the budget, we'll pick back up discussion on this. It's not necessarily that we're going to pass it if there's room in the budget, but we're not going to talk about it until we know there's room in the budget for it.
And apparently, this was kind of tied to expanding the voucher program.
Yeah. Because Governor Lee wants it bad, so he'll have room in the budget. He'll make room in the budget for it.
Possibly.
And so the question is whether he's going to try to call once he gets his budget passed, which is at the tail end of session.
Which is, I think it's next month, I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's a big election year, so they're going to get done quick. They want to get out of there. But so he'll get his budget passed before session closes, and then if they're trying to clear out, he might. I wouldn't be surprised if he calls a special session to get them back in there to approve his expansion. He'll make room in the budget, and then they can approve his expansion of the voucher program.
I guess some were advocating for maybe, not doubling it to 40,000, but maybe have it between like 30 and 35,000 as far as the expansion.
Listen, fucking double it. If we're gonna do it. Make it available to everybody that wants it, and figure it out. Because
I want to say there was some effort to have some kind of oversight of it, or at least start trying to tabulate where some of these vouchers are going to.
That's our boy Sam McKinsey right here in Knoxville. He's been the lead on that.
Yeah.
He's like, why are you guys afraid of data? And again, it goes back to when we were first talking about it. Right? I don't know. I still don't know where I necessarily land on vouchers in general. I certainly don't think this program makes a lot of sense. But from the conservative perspective, if I understand conservatives, which I don't, but at least what they say out loud is small government, low taxes, responsible spending of the taxes we have to take. What does responsible spending mean? It means that we can look at the dollar spent and say, that is a reasonable way to spend that dollar. Okay. Well, if we're giving you a voucher and we have no information other than you put the application in, your application checked all the boxes we need, we approved it and gave it to you. How do we know that that's responsible spending? We don't.
Yeah.
There's no way to know that's responsible spending. And again, from the conservative standpoint of responsible spending, well, okay, the second part of that is, all right, well, we gave you this money to go spend it on a private school. Is that private school teaching you what the state wants you to get taught? Well, explicitly by the voucher program, we're not allowed to ask that question. It's like, well, how are we supposed to argue that this is responsible spending when it is very possible, maybe even likely, that somebody is going to receive voucher money and spend that on a private school that's about as quality as the Trump University? Some private school is going to spin up that fills out the paperwork with the state, start accepting voucher money, and teach kids the world's flat. I mean, we have one here in Knox County that's a budget. It's a budget Christian private school that's it's like the 6,000 year model or whatever it's called.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like the literal translation of the Bible that God created the earth and dinosaurs and man lived at the same time together kind of shit.
Right.
Like, we have a school in the state of Tennessee that is getting your and my tax money that is teaching children that human beings and dinosaurs lived at the same time.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but I don't feel like that's responsible spending of my tax money. Problem is, I don't know that because I know that for a fact because I know it, but it's not a traceable fact with data. Because the students who are receiving the money and going to that school with it, there's no through line in the information that the state has. They gave you the money, and you took your kid to the school that teaches flat earth.
Right.
All I know is you got the money. I don't know where your student's going with that money. I know that it's going to a school that the state has given, educational whatever accreditation to or whatever the process is for private schools to get their state certifications and stuff like that. I know that much. But that's all we know. We don't know what these schools are teaching. We don't get to know those things. Which, again, on the core fundamental level, I'm okay with that. Except now we got tax dollars going in, and I'm not okay. Like, if you're going to tell me that we're all about responsible spending, well, not knowing where it's going and what's getting done with it is not responsible spending. There's no argument to make it so. That's what I got in my big fight with Betsy about a year ago after she left the state house when she went and testified.
Right.
Like, that is literally, there's no logical way that you can square those two things. On a truly conservative value level, they said that, or not true, like a truly libertarian style level, they said, we're not going to ask questions about what you do in your schools. We're not going to tell you how to teach your kids. You do what you want. You're a private school. which is, I'm good with that. I think that's fair. But not with tax dollars. Like, if it's truly a private school, you can teach whatever you want. The idea that a Knox Catholic has to do any paperwork with the state to be a school, I think, stop. I think they should be able to do whatever they want, teach whatever they want. If parents want to spend the money to go there, go have at it. But when you start adding tax dollars into the mix, then I do get to care what Knox Catholic is teaching, what their programming is, what their efforts are.
Yep.
I get to care. It's my right, because it's my money. And when I say my, I mean my, the royal we, not me personally, but some of it is me personally. Same way I say I pay your salary when I talk to a cop. Because I do. Because we do. Because I am part of we.
All right.
Just make sure that's clear. It's not me personally. It's the royal me that includes you and that kid over there and other things like that.
Is he paying taxes?
Yeah, he's filing with the IRS this year.
Nice.
Because my dad, I don't know what the deal is. It's weird. It's just a weirdism. My dad's getting up there. I love my dad. Don't get me wrong, but like he's getting up there. He's like a good grandpa. As soon as he was born, he started a college fund account or whatever. And it's one of those it's funny. Like looking back on it, I realize how awesome it actually was. Because my grandparents did it. And I think my parents started matching it at some point, but like I would get every year I'd get a birthday card. You know, like one birthday card would have a $50 bill in it. Sweet. Another birthday card would like a $150 deposit receipt. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, that's lame. You know, but it's not. It's awesome.
Right.
And it came through awesomely as I became an adult and stuff like that once I got access to it. You know, my grandparents had bought a life insurance policy on me when I was a baby, and they paid a certain amount a year in until like I turned like 15, and then they just stopped paying. But it had like this whole it was a whole complicated thing. It ended up like $50,000 when I was like 27. I didn't even know it existed. We were actually trying to buy the house, and my mom was like, "Have you cashed in your life insurance?" I was like, "What life insurance?" And my mom broke it all down for me. She's like, "Yeah, this is something your grandmother started when you were a kid, and you know you can keep it, and then when you die or whatever, it'll get distributed to your family as life insurance, like true life insurance. Right. But it's also more functionally like a savings program that pays out pretty good, you know."
Yeah, I didn't realize you could pull out of life insurance policies.
Yeah, and so you know, it's one of those like if I died. If I kept it and died at 85, it would have been like $100,000.
Yeah.
But I took it out when I was, 25, 27, whatever it was, and got like 50 or something like that.
Right.
You know, but anyway, help me buy the house. It's amazing. So anyway, my dad started something like that for my guys when they were born. And for some reason this year, when he got all the tax documentation for the savings account, it was showing some need for some sort of filing. And so there was this confusion. He was going back and forth with his accountant. And I was like, I don't care, Dad. Send it to me. I'll send it to my accountant. My accountant will tell me what I need to do with it. And so my accountant's like, well, okay, so your kids are going to file. They're going to file a tax return. It's like a 1040.
As far as like earned income or whatever.
Yeah, it's dividend income. It's like a dividend income which is weird because most of them are set up where like if you get a dividend income, the fund or whatever takes that dividend and either puts it in a savings account, like a regular savings account inside the group, and then when it gets to a certain amount, it'll buy more pieces of different funds to grow itself. And so once it buys more pieces of it, that becomes an investment, which then offsets your dividend income. Because it's now an investment into a thing. And so, like, if you get $100, you get taxed on $100. But if you invest that $100, it then becomes a tax deduction for your investment. And so now your net gain is zero.
Right.
And so for whatever reason, this certain fund did some certain transaction this year that kind of screwed that thing up. And so, like, each of the kids, like, it's like they're showing like 75. It's not even a real number. It's a ridiculously low number. But it's enough, like it's a couple $100, I guess. It's enough that they're required to show the IRS the process and do the thing. And so it's this whole big back and forth, which sucks. It's a pain in the butt.
Right.
For nothing. Like, it's for literally nothing. And really, what's funny to me, like, because I was talking to my dad about it tonight when we were waiting for this, where we were sitting out in the lobby for this musical. And he's like, yeah, what's really kicking our butts right now is there's a minimum, I'm missing the word, it's a minimum withdrawal, basically. When you have a 401k and some of these other savings and retirement programs, you have to start drawing a certain amount out of them in a certain time frame after you retire and stuff like that. They force you to. And so since they force you to, then that becomes income. And this is why it's in place. They force you to because the government wants to be able to collect your
tax on that.
Collect your capital gains tax on you. And so they're forcing you. He's like, yeah, but it sucks because they tax crap out of that. And I was like, yeah, then just spend your money, Dad. I don't understand I don't understand. Like, I get it. It sucks when you have $100, but you only get $50 in value out of it because you get taxed. Like, if you take that,
is there a way around it by reinvesting it?
I don't know if you can at once you get to certain, like, at his age. I'm sure there's some stuff he could do,
right?
But then it just becomes it's going to get locked over here, and it's going to be a problem to take out later, kind of stuff. I'm just hoping he kicks it before the people that are doing all this, anti-billionaire stuff get the what's the step-up basis? That's one of the big ones that needs to is reasonable that needs to get rid of. It's a weird one. But I'm just, before any of that, before any of those changes, the tax code come down, I just knew my dad died before that. So let's wait a couple more years and then do it, because it's the right thing to do, to be fair. The step-up basis thing, so it's like, well, I bought, it's what the Mondays and the Baxter family are doing here in Knoxville. Mr. Baxter, the parent Baxter, who opened Holston Gases and has been around and is a very wealthy man. He died a year or two ago. He owns a ton of property around town. He bought all that property for nickels and dimes. That's now worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
Well, when he died and passed it along to his kids, it's like a reset button for capital gains. So now his son or daughter, whoever the estate gives the certain property to, it's all in it's all in trust and stuff like that anyway. But just for example's sake, let's say I bought this house for $135,000, give or take. I'm going to live for another 40 years. I give this place to my kid in 40 years, and it's worth $2.5 million. So that $2.1 million gain in value would theoretically, if I were to sell it, get taxed as capital gains. But as soon as I die,
based on valuation, yeah,
right. But as soon as I die, my kid inherits it. The step-up basis says, "Okay, well now it resets for you." And if he sells it the day after I die, and he takes possession of it, he only pays taxes on any value gained from the time he took possession of it to he sells it. So if it goes from 2.5 to 2.55 million in the time it takes for the executor to do all its shit and all that kind of stuff, he's going to pay capital gains tax on $50,000, not $1.1 million.
I saw a couple of things on what I guess New York City has passed or tried to pass. There was some kind of misrepresentation of what the city had passed.
Listen, I mean, again, I'm sorry to derail you because there is some weird shit going on. Not weird, bad, but weird and like stuff that we're not used to seeing. But I just want to, before we move off of this income tax weirdness, like, I'm not opposed. Like, I don't hate the premise of like tax the rich kind of arguments that people like to make, but I don't see the federal government as an income like Knox County has an income problem, not a spending problem. I don't think Knox County is I don't think you could find a lot of wasteful spending in Knox County government because we don't have a lot of stuff we're spending money on.
Right.
I think the federal government is the exact opposite. I don't think the federal government has an income problem. What's our annual budget? $1 trillion?
Between 1 and 2, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I guess our budget's not the question. What's our annual income from generated revenues for the federal government?
Right. Not as much as or less than what we're spending.
Right. But let's say the budget's $1.5 trillion and the income's $1 trillion. Like a fucking $1 trillion isn't enough money to do what we need to do in a year as a federal government. I don't think it's an income problem the federal government has. It's a spending problem. Where Knox County is the inverse. It's not a spending problem. It's an income problem. Personally.
Yeah.
I did see a great breakdown. I meant to, well, you're not on Facebook, so I couldn't share it to you, but Reason Magazine has a Facebook page, and they do a bunch of little videos on it. I bet you could find it on the YouTube. It was a great...
Is that a national publication?
Yes. It's kind of the libertarian dork.
Oh, okay.
Dorkiness. They did a... they have these fun little videos that they put on. Really well done. My favorite is the Unintended Consequences series. But they did a Department of Education explainer. Nope. There we go.
One on school choice.
Donald Trump is threatening to abolish the Department of Education. Should you freak out? No, you freak out too much. But mostly the Department of Donald Trump is threatening to abolish the Department of Education. Should you freak out? No, you freak out too much. But mostly the Department of Education doesn't actually handle education. That's state and local school districts. It doesn't administer the National School Lunch Program. That's the Department of Agriculture. And it doesn't directly handle university accreditation. That's the Illuminati. The Department of Ed is mostly a big Pez dispenser for student loans and Pell Grants, which have done a great job keeping down the price of college tuition. It also monitors civil rights and education. Can't actually prosecute violations of it. It can just withhold federal funds, which are a fractional part of local school budgets. Even if you think public school teachers are super racist, federal laws are still on the books, and the Justice Department can handle it. A small portion of the budget does go to special needs grants, which might be good, but don't require a full federal cabinet level to administer. The rest of the Department of Education's budget helps public schools hire administrators to comply with rules created by the Department of Education. Also, you can't legally abolish anything unless Congress gets its shit together, so no worries there. Donald Trump is threatening to abolish...
Anyway. I
did see a story that the Department of Education was like moving out of the building in which they're in right now.
Oh, I mean,
because they're on the way to possibly getting X'd. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I did see, I think it was a story today or yesterday, talking about the Hope Scholarship here in Tennessee, and how, I think we've talked about it before, that I've seen some stories about the Tennessee lottery was, I guess, seeing less revenue.
Which I guess is like going on.
Which is cutting into, right. And I think there's a
it's that Kelce shit
probability market legislation that I think Tennessee might be looking at. There was a law. I think it was Nevada that actually stopped one of the two major ones from operating in the state because they're like, this is just an end-around way of you guys. It's gambling, but you guys aren't calling it gambling,
right? Just for legal purposes, that's at Reason TV on YouTube if you want to learn more from them. Yeah, it is. I could probably pull up the video and try to find the CBS Sunday Morning. They did a story on with Kelce CEO, and it's like, it's not gambling, it's trading. It's like, it's not. Fine, okay, fine, whatever, sure, it is.
Trading futures.
It is, I guess, if you want to get into some weird, it's not gambling in the same way we're not at war with Iran. I mean, if that's how we're gonna, again, this is what happens when lawyers run the country. We get into this weird thing where you just call it something different. It doesn't have to be different. It's just you call it something different, and then the law doesn't quite apply the same. So I'm going to start selling heroin, but I'm going to call it, I don't know. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to find a new name for it. Giggle Pig. That's a Brooklyn Nine-Nine reference for all you Andy Samberg fans out there. But you call it something different. You get away, you can kind of weasel around stuff by using different names, especially the verbs in the sentence. It's the verbs that's the big one. We're not worrying. What are we doing? We're excursioning. What's the word he's using?
Yeah, I think we're doing an excursion right now.
An excursion. And so, yeah, but I mean, one, I think the Hope Scholarship is such a scam in and of itself. I kind of enjoy if it's failing, personally. One, out of petty selfishness, it went into effect the year after we graduated, so we weren't eligible. I think I could get it now, but I was already a student at UT when it went available, and so I was not eligible for the rest of my college career.
Huh.
Or maybe my parents didn't bother.
New student or something.
Yeah, I honestly I don't know the specifics of it. I didn't pay attention back then. Point of privilege, if you will. I didn't worry about the funding for me going to school. My parents took care of it.
Yeah. Pell Grants helped me out.
I don't think I had a Pell Grant. Pell Grants helped you out?
Huh?
I didn't get a Pell Grant. I don't think I got a Pell Grant.
I got a Pell Grant.
That's what I was asking. I thought you said Pell Grants helped you out, referring to me, and I was like, I don't think so.
No.
But you said you did.
Yeah, Pell Grants helped me out.
And so
I think it was like 1 or 2 semesters. I had like $102 extra, basically, of what it cost from like school and. Well, part of that I was able to find like used textbooks, and I didn't buy brand new textbooks.
Get you a couple cases of beer, call it a win.
Hell yeah.
But again, that's the short version. The original video I saw was a much longer version. That was their shortened version of it. We talked about it a bunch of times. Like, what do they actually fucking do? That's what they do.
Right.
And so as far as in our schools right here in Knox County, the only thing the National Board of Education does realistically in our schools, in Knox County public schools, is
it's like Title IX.
Is mostly it's the special education subset departments. They do some funding in special ed, which isn't bad. Don't get me wrong. But again, it's a cost-benefit analysis. We got a multi-billion-dollar organization that's kicking out a couple $1 billion to every school system in the country to help with their special education departments. Would it be bad if they lost that income? Yes. Would it be catastrophic? Probably not. Would you and I maybe, I don't know, get less taken out of our checks and might be willing to help? Or maybe the local government puts a little bit more of adds a little tiny tax over here or over there to help fund this subset that they're losing from the federal government?
I don't think that's going to add that much more to your paycheck if they just completely cut out the Department of Education and its entire budget.
It would. I mean, it would. Over
really get an extra penny. Fuck
over
yeah.
a career, it'd be nickels and dimes at best. You're right. Maybe a couple $1,000s over a 40-year career of working that you would pay less. But again, it goes back to my point I was making a minute. It's the federal government is a spending issue, not a fucking income issue.
Yeah.
With the amount of money that they take in annually, we should be able to do a lot of stuff and do it well. That's the thing that bothers me. Like the stuff that we do, we don't even do well. Let's go to Iran, for example. Like we don't even do war well anymore. I say that. Like in our lifetimes, we've never done war well, and we have the highest paid, the highest funded military by like 3 times the second highest spending
something like
nation.
That, yeah. As far as our budget, yeah.
And that nation is an ally. Well, used to be an ally at least. And then the next couple after that are also allies. I think the first adversarial nation we get to in the military spending breakdown is
probably China.
Is China, and they're like 5th on the list. Like we outspend China by like 5 or 6 in military spending. And I'm not sure we have I'm not sure we have a shot in hell with fucking with that. Hell, they build half the shit we put in our rockets and stuff to shoot at them.
All electronics, yeah.
All the component stuff to it. It's like, so like, what are we talking about here? This is crazy. Anyway, yeah, so I don't see anything other than the little bit of special education funding that would be a problem if we took however many $1 billion a year out of the federal budget by like, that doesn't hurt my feelings of all the shit that Trump's doing. That is not one. It's because, again, it's like it's one of those scaremonger things that's so easy to do because we don't know what the fuck they do. How long have we been talking about it?
Talking about what?
What does the Federal Department of Education do?
We've talked about it more in the extent of most people think that what goes on in classrooms has to do with the Federal Department of Education.
Which I think we already knew. We've already known that that's not the case.
I mean, it was never obvious to me. I assumed maybe they had some kind of oversight over some kind of general curriculum or setting some kind of like supposed national standard. But
right, which at least if Reason Magazine is to be trusted, their claim is that it's not, and I'm going to take that claim pretty seriously because I'm pretty confident. And again, we can get into the argument of what they do is do a lot of funding for higher education as far as grants and scholarships in some of those programs.
I forget who I saw was taking over kind of like Pell Grants.
And I don't think it's a controversial statement to say that the guaranteed funding and the ease of students getting college students getting all these different guaranteed loans and shit like that the U.S. Department of Education does their thing with. I don't think that has been a net good. I don't think that's a controversial statement either. I think most people. I'd be curious if the stats out there on. I mean, yes, there are kids that got college educations that couldn't afford them, that got their education, that went and got a job, and are undeniably on a better economic path with their life because of it.
Right.
That they've overcome their loan, got their loan paid off, are living their lives better than they would have without it. I don't doubt that has happened.
Right. I think the issue with
but
many
at
is
scale,
the interest rates that some of the big lenders have kept on them.
Because you can't. Because I mean, it's the same. Like it's like that. We were talking about how I can't remember who was bragging that Knox County's got a AAA bond rating. It's like, well, of course you do. The state of Tennessee Constitution says that you will pay your debt.
Right.
What bank wouldn't loan to you? And especially if there's not a lot of stuff pushing back on me to put a loan out to a student, going back to the topic, if there's not a lot of pressure or regulation for me on what I can and can't charge you in interest, but I'm guaranteed to get my loan back, whether it's from you or the U.S. Department of Education, of course I'll give you a loan. You want to go to college, kid? Cool. You scored a 17 on your ACT. I don't remember what shitty score is. ACT is the one that goes to
I think 17 is not. It goes up to 30, I believe.
So 17's above average, or is right at average somewhere in there?
It's a little below.
Let me go the other way. You score a 7 on your ACT.
Yeah.
You're fucking dumb. But you want to go to college? All right. Here's a loan. All right. Random college that needs money and is doing anything they can to get students. You're going to accept this kid that's obviously not very smart to your college because you want them to come and spend 6-7 years as a student there and maybe never graduate because you don't really care if they graduate or not. It's not the end of the world to you. You'll take them on as a student. They will get loans forever to be a student there. Maybe graduate, maybe not. I'm the bank, I'm getting paid. I'm the university, I'm getting paid. There's only one loser in this equation, and it's supposed to be who this program's benefiting.
Right.
But it's not going to benefit the program because this kid's an idiot. Because idiots happen, and it's okay. I'm not trying to fault you for being an idiot, random example person I just made up. But you're an idiot. You don't need to go to college. Especially, you don't need to go into ridiculous debt to go to college that you're never going to be able to pay back. Which eventually means that you and I, in my terminology version of it, is going to pay your loan for you. Which again, on a...
I think it's one of the one debts you can't get out from under.
Nope.
I don't know how it transfers if you happen to pass away, if that debt goes to next of kin.
I don't know. That's a weird one.
I know some debts do. After a person dies.
It's usually a debt that is attached to an asset.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know, homes and stuff like that.
Right. Like if I have a $1 million house and I've paid into it and then I end up dying and you inherit the house from me as part of my will or whatever, I think you get the option of taking on that debt to keep the house or let it go.
Yeah.
I don't think you're forced to take on the debt in so many terms. I think you're given it's like you can take the debt or you could take the house and the debt, or you could just let it all go and you don't get anything.
Most of those cases where medical debt ends up getting transferred.
I think spousal, I don't think goes down to kids, though. Again, since we're married and since we use us being married in examples, and we're in Tennessee that doesn't discriminate against our gayness. If you died from something, and because functionally we are taking on that debt as a couple,
right,
for your medical care.
I want to say I've heard of cases of like children with their parents die, getting stuck with. I don't know if that would be like the executor of the will or the whoever had power of attorney.
That's a good question. That'd be
where some of that gets tied over to them. It's kind of like, where the hospital's basically, somebody's got to pay this hospital bill.
Yeah.
And you have power of attorney, so that's on you. I could be wrong, but I want to say I've heard of cases of that getting transferred over.
I'm sure there's some. I think if it's power of attorney, and you were part of the medical decisions,
right,
then that makes sense. Like if my dad gets sick and I have power of attorney over him,
maybe tied over to, I guess, you technically kind of being the one that gets to oversee the quote unquote estate after somebody's passing.
Well, I do think in the estate process. The estate process is to settle debts before any assets are passed out.
Yeah.
And so again, going like I have $1 million home, but I owe $5 million or $2 million in medical debt. The estate will then pay that debt before it will give the house out.
Right.
And so if I want to keep the house, I have to pay that debt.
Yeah.
Because that asset is value to the debtor that the debtor doesn't necessarily get first crack at, but at least has a position to get their money back before that house is given away for free, quote unquote.
Interesting stories of people.
Let's go. Sorry.
Of people, buying like an older house and ended up finding like some money that was stashed away like in the walls or whatever. Which I think technically by law, those people, even though it's not really finders keepers, it actually has to go back to, I guess, like if it was a bank that bought the house, like a foreclosure, basically, to where the bank has rights to that money that's found inside the walls or whatever. So I thought it was kind of odd. I was like, I would have thought if I found it, I get to keep it.
I wouldn't tell anybody where I got it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's cash,
right?
What are you like? How is the bank supposed to?
Because I guess whenever they buy in foreclosure, they get, I guess, whatever's inside the house as well. So it's almost kind of like undiscovered money that was there.
That makes no sense.
That's what I thought
because
too.
Because you took the house back in foreclosure and all of its contents, and then you sold it with all of its contents. Even if you if you took all the furniture out and sold the furniture and took the money back there, but then you sold the house. It's like, oh, well, we didn't realize that the sink in the master bedroom was gold plated. We get our gold plated. No, you sold the house with a gold plated sink, and that gold plated sink is now property of the new homeowner. That doesn't make any sense. My insulation is crisp $100 bills.
Right.
Well, you sold me a house and it has insulation. That insulation happens to be made out of crisp $100 bills.
Sucks for you. It's mine now.
I decided as the new homeowner that I wanted to upgrade my insulation because these $100 bill insulation is just not keeping the house warm.
Right. So
I took that insulation out and threw it away, as far as you're concerned. That is a weird one. Sorry, I interrupted way back when we were talking about taxes. You were going to say something, and then I went back to finish a point.
What about taxes?
I derailed it. I don't remember now. The new Chilhowie Park planning commission met for the first time, and it's a mess. So Scott was talking about it on their show today, and I had a question, and I'm not sure because there is it was just kind of struck me while I was talking about it. It's like, so if this new group decides that they want to sell it to Emerald Club, is that an option? And as far as like the if this group gets together and it's like, what do we want to do with the park? What do we want to be here? And they decide that what they want to be here is to sell it to a private developer. Is there any obligation for the city to do that thing? Like,
I think it's just an advisory.
Huh?
I think it's just an advisory.
So there's no obligation for the city to do what the group says, but if the group ends up saying do what the city was planning to do originally, like, could that functionally, technically happen? I think it could.
If the city was on board with it, yeah.
Which would be a fascinating little thing. But the city said, like, Kincannon said that she's got $2 million a year for the next 5 years allocated to spend on Chilhowie, the specific subset of Chilhowie Park that includes, that is that piece of land that they get the oversight on. And so, like, the interesting thing to watch in this as it goes forward is how functional this group is. Like, does this group have any ability to function? Because they should be able to say, okay, we want to do this. We have funding for this. Let's do this. Now, the question is, well...
I don't think they have too much, like, decision rights. I think it's more just straight-up advisory.
I think, it's but realistically, but funding's available. And so as long as they're functioning within the funding, there's no reason that the administration won't do it.
Luckily, if they're able to prove that the community is behind this, it's like, hey, we've gone.
That's what the group is. The group is the proof, theoretically, because that's what the big fight. Like that's what the big next level. The big stink of the conversation of the first meeting this week was who was chosen to be part of the group, and there are complaints from certain people that a number of the members of this group were supporters of the Emerald Youth Project. Uh-huh. And so it's like, wait a minute. Why would we put somebody we have somebody on the group in the group who was trying to do the thing that nobody wanted to get done. So why would we put this as an advisory person? It's like, well, I don't know. I don't know who selected them and why and how the selection process worked per se. But it's like, the group is open to its own, bylaws and purview and how they want to do stuff. They can let more people in the group, which presumably makes it much harder for them to get anything done. But again, like I think it's one of those, like if they can come up with a concise plan that's agreed upon by that group, they should be able to get it done as long as they're not being crazy with the numbers. As long as they're within the budget that the city is willing to set aside for it, they should be able to do things like take the fence down or at least have the fence gates open and have some picnic tables, some pavilions, and within the next couple of years get a playground built. And at least have a public use park that's getting some play. So, I don't know. I don't care. It's weird to me. This is one of those where, like, this is why it's good that I've never pulled the trigger on trying to run for office, because I would, like, if I were American Canada in this first little thing, it's like, tough shit, people. Suck it up. There's got to be some amount of, we've got to get out of our own way here, populace. We had a great thing that was set up there, takes it off of the city's costs and turns it into a city revenue generator because the new owner will have to pay property taxes, and they're promising and in writing that they're going to have certain public availability for it, so we get this great thing. We don't have to pay to get it built, and we're going to get paid in property tax over the next couple of years. Like there's just one of those, like, this is why I know I would be no good at it, because I would have zero patience for this kind of shit. Like, it'd be like, this is the right decision. We're moving forward with this decision. It's like a lot of this different, like just a lot of this different stuff that just drives me nuts. It's like, I understand as a homeowner in Knox County that a lot of my neighbors don't want to pay more property tax. I don't necessarily want to pay more property tax. But you've got to take a second and zoom out.
Yeah.
And look at what's going on around you. And if you're unwilling to do that, it is the job of a leader in a leadership role, elected or not, to say, listen, you idiots, quit being dumb. Think about what we're doing. Think about what we're talking about here. And think about what is actually better for you. Is paying $50, $100, $200 more a year in taxes worse for you than, I don't know, putting new tires on your car twice a year?
Or having limited fire service.
Right. Or, your house burning down because a house 5 houses down from you caught on fire because something stupid happened and we didn't have the means to get a fire crew out to stop it before it burnt their neighbor, their neighbor, their neighbor, and then got to you. Like, it's not your house that caught fire. It's like 2 or 3 neighbors down. But we didn't have the means to get there and put it out. So it burnt your house down too. Yeah. We've got to figure out how to get, like that again. Like I've done this 1,000 times. But it's one of those, like, we've got to get to this thing where, the public can. I guess that's the question. Can the public take constructive criticism? We act like they can't. I don't know if it's true or not. I feel like likely it's not. They probably can't. Like, just the public at large. All these NIMBYs and bullshit. Like, all the NIMBYism is obvious. Like, kind of makes it obvious. The public cannot take criticism. They can't take constructive criticism. It's like, hey, guys, I see your point of view. I really do. I'm not trying to say that I don't understand what you're asking for or asking to not happen. I see it. I get it. But we have a larger situation here, and this is a solution to it. And while you don't necessarily like it, it is a bigger issue than what you guys have problems with.
Right.
And if you can't understand that, so be it. But we have a bigger picture that we got to look at here. At least take the second to understand that I'm doing this in a bigger picture format than what your specific issue is. And if you disagree with me, so be it. But at least understand that there's a reason behind it. And I just don't know if that's a possible. Like, I don't know how to do that. Because I guess, again, it's like, democracy sucks. It's a really shitty form of government. It just happens to be way better than all the other ones. Because, again, I'm a firm believer the best form of government is the benevolent dictator. It's just the benevolent part's really hard to attach to a dictator.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the public doesn't know what they want. They don't know what they want, and they don't know what's good for them. And I don't think it's that they're not capable. AC used to talk about it all the time. It's like, we can go sit out. We can go right now and go sit down at a bar and watch this UT basketball game and sit next to some guy, and he can tell you the intricacies of the zone defense in the half court press and all these different little parts and pieces and like these super intricate, highly complicated tactical whatever things that are going on in a basketball game. So they have the mental capacity to understand a highly complicated system. But it's not interesting or exciting to apply that capability to government.
Right.
For the general public. And so it's like, I don't know what the fix is. It's like, again, like we've talked about it since the beginning of the show. Like, how do we make stupid shit like the Chilhowie Park Oversight Committee or the Juvenile Detention Center board and director voting process and all this kind of shit? How do you make that exciting and interesting for people to want to spend the little bit of time that it would take to get an understanding of it and have an insightful, informed opinion on it? Because that's all it takes. It has, like, you know, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be as interesting as college basketball in the middle of March Madness. But as long as it can be 50% as interesting, so that, I can watch basketball on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then on Monday I can get caught up and make sure I understand what's going on in my local politics and be an engaged and understood citizen. Like, can I do that in a couple days? If you consistently work at it, yeah. You could do one day a week where you do a little bit of light reading and maybe listen to a cool podcast like this one or a smarter podcast like the Compass Guys one. Read a couple of news articles and stuff like that on local politics and governance and be well informed enough to at least function in a good conversation, in a good faith conversation where you're not going off some emotional bullshit or you're playing some, Republican, Democrat. The number of times on some different Facebook post that I've commented on or read or whatever that's including like this. There's all this different shit with the mayor's race. It's very fun time for a dork like me to be on social media in local politics circles because it's exciting right now. Getting all these different flyers, all this people pitching fits about this shit. Like, some PAC, like the one that I saw this week, there's a PAC that is endorsing the Trump RX, and they've attached Becky Massey to it. And Becky Massey supports Trump and Trump RX, and Becky Massey cares a lot about this stuff. And I can't quite figure it out because it makes no logical sense. Becky Massey's not on the ballot right now, so she doesn't have a campaign to win. And I've been meaning to text Becky and be like, hey, obviously it's a PAC, so they can't have direct conversation with you about what they're doing here. But is this accurate? Would you call yourself a MAGA Republican who is supporting Trump's efforts to do this Trump RX thing or whatever? Like, I don't know if it's factual or not. I need to fix that because I do have access to understand the truth of that. I do have the ability to find the truth out. But, we've got all these moving parts and pieces and all this discussion that's going on in this very specific political run. And it's just like, I'm so exhausted. Like, I'm not exhausted. I enjoy it in a very sadistic way of just telling people they're idiots. Because they're like, like my mom tonight, which candidate does what? And it's like, Mom, do you want me to tell you who to vote for, or do you want me to tell you about the candidates? Because I'll tell you who to vote for, because I'm selfish enough, and I know I'm right. I'm confident that I'm more right than most people are, at least as understanding what is. Because honestly, this is my problem. We've been over it 50 times already. There's two policies that we have different combinations of between the three Republican candidates. The Republican candidate who wins the primary will eventually win the mayor's race. And so it's like, are you anti-growth? Are you anti-growth or pro-growth? Are you anti-tax or pro-tax? And not even pro-tax. Are you anti-tax or open to the premise that we might need to raise taxes? Those are only two questions in this mayor's race. And the combination of the answer to those two questions is your candidate. So maybe that's what I need to do. I need to put a little metric together. Answer these two questions. Where are you on these two questions? And I'll tell you who you're voting for. Because the only one that would get weird is if you're pro-growth and anti-tax. Yeah, answer those two questions and put them in your priority. Yeah, that's Brucey, baby. Bruce Pearl, everybody.
I was like, that looks like.
When I was at Tennessee, we sucked then, too. We could never get out of the Elite Eight, which we're in the Sweet 16 right now. And we're winning at halftime. Disclaimer, I'm not approved by the NCAA to simulcast this broadcast. Fear not. So,
did see another legislation that had to do with technology in elementary school.
Oh, we were talking about gambling. That's what got us way, way off. Technology in middle schools.
That it was trying to limit the use of technology, and it was kind of vague in kind of what it was. They had a quote from your friend. I'm blanking on her name right now.
My friend?
Local used to be former teacher here in
Gloria.
Gloria, yeah.
Glojo.
That she was kind of torn on it, and it seemed like that's...
What was the point?
Some people were kind of iffy.
Limiting the use of technology in the classroom?
Yeah.
See, I don't know.
I think they were trying to focus more on... I did see a story about, I think it was in another state, where a teacher, I guess, had been writing like her name or some kind of quote like on the board in cursive, and she realized that none of her students knew cursive. So in some states, in some localities, they've gone back to starting to teach cursive, not cursing.
They should teach cursive too, but I don't see the point in teaching cursive personally.
Yeah,
at this point, what when do people interact with cursive ever?
It's not often.
But
I guess if you were reading old papers,
again it goes right. But even that, if you're reading old papers, there's going to be a digitized version of it anyway. That's in Times New Roman or something.
To somewhere you would almost kind of need it, when you're having to actually sign something, sign any kind of formal document.
Yeah, but to create your signature, yes, you do need to create a signature. But I don't know. You can do that in any number of artistic-y ways that you feel like, technically speaking.
Yeah.
And hell, I mean, anymore, there's a cursive font that you use on like a DocuSign.
True.
And that counts as your signature, even though it's not even close to my real signature.
Right.
Because
there is standardized.
There is no combination of fonts that can get my signature.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, bad thing. I'm not sure. Like my signature, I have a very specific, unique signature that probably would make it easy to forge because it's so specifically unique. But anyway, I don't know. But again, it goes back. Go ahead.
The technology limiting. Some people were torn on it just because they're like, hey, with the kind of growth of the technology, is it more of a hindrance if we're not at least giving the kids some kind of understanding of using technology?
Right. That's the thing. That's the thing to me that this is a question we've asked 1,000 times in the show. It's like, what's the point of the schools? Like, what is the point? And it's like, like at some level, to me, and we got into this with Jennifer Owen, like at some level to me, it's to make you a functional, working person. And writing in cursive, or, like some of the skill sets are kind of irrelevant in the world that we live in nowadays. And the inverse being, it's like we are constantly interacting with technology.
Tell me if somebody wanted to go back and read the Constitution. It's all in cursive. You would never be able to decipher it.
If you don't trust that the 50 million renditions that are typed up.
I agree. Right.
As I'm saying, I can't think. I doubt there is a single document that has existed.
Let's say Wi-Fi goes out for a month. You want to learn something.
You read a book.
You're in a history class.
How many books are written in cursive? Zero. I mean, hell, you get print. There are printed hard copy versions of the Constitution.
I know. Just give an example of a famous document that's.
I mean, hell, I can read cursive, and I would struggle to read the Constitution as written.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I know cursive, and I still don't know if I could do.
Some of it's very fancy penmanship.
Yeah. But again, what's I get that. What is the futurists out there are the answer to the question. What is, what are we going to be doing with our lives? Are we at the point with AI? One of the guys out there is we've already done it. We've already got the AGI. It's already happened. With all these different parts and pieces and things that are in play, it's I don't know. Part of me in a very, very cynical way, it's what's the point of school anymore at all? Right now, I believe the unemployment, the bachelor's degree and better, so kids that have graduated from college, their ability to get jobs is at an all-time low right now. The number of people who have graduated, have bachelor's or better, that are still unemployed or underemployed, is at an all-time high right now. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. And I don't see anything on the horizon that's going to make that any better.
A general synopsis of it. It would require public elementary schools to prioritize traditional instruction over technology for students in kindergarten through 5th grade. It's already passed the Senate and would allow technology use only for specific educational purposes and prohibit social media access.
I don't mind prohibiting some social media access.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
But again, it's I don't know.
Still don't know where we stand on cell phones in schools.
Well, that law passed last year, and they don't abide by it at all.
They leave some of it up to the schools.
I think it's supposed
I like the idea where some classrooms basically had a thing that hung on the back of the door where each kid had to put their cell phone in a little pocket.
I have weird feelings on that as a parent. I do. I like the Yonder bag systems. Where on your way into school,
the ones concerts that kind of lock it up,
right? So it's right. So on their way in the door, they would go and they would put their phone in a bag, and then that bag gets sealed, and they can't open it until they go back to a station.
Yeah,
that allows them to open the bag and get their phone out. And it's I kind of like the premise, I like. Part of me likes the premise, part of me hates the premise. It's part of it's in the world we live in now. I want my kid to have access to his phone. Some shit goes down. He's running off campus. I don't need him to have to go bum a phone off somebody because this is stuck in his backpack. He has his phone on him, but he can't get to it because it's locked up. When there's some shit.
That's like the idea of just having, like I said, that big hanger on the back of the door. The kids just don't have access to it while they're sitting there in class.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was college level. I saw an interesting thing. I think it was at the college level. There were some teachers that are going more towards like actual like oral quizzes because they're getting back like, perfect take-home quizzes and like perfect like homework, basically. They're like, hey, I'm going to ask you about this subject. You need to actually like prove to me that you've learned this and not just had AI do all the work for you.
Right. Even if you rewrote it in your own hand, it's still...
Right.
Or if you retype it.
It's like, oh, Billy, Johnny, and Susie all have the same thing word for word.
But,
they probably use the same AI.
But maybe, again, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is on it. Like, do I want you to know things? Sure. But shit, I don't know. I'm trying to do all this stuff on my house. I'm learning trade techniques by watching YouTube every day.
Right.
AI is not doing the physical work for me, but I certainly haven't spent years of tutelage under a master to get to a functional level to do whatever. Like I was talking to the plumber today. He was talking about before he started his own place, the company he worked for, he never did any finishing plumbing. He's a master plumber, but and he went through and did trade school stuff, and he knows how to do all the finishing plumbing stuff, but he never did it because...
What do you mean by finishing plumbing?
So finishing plumbing would be actually putting the sink in and attaching and plumbing the sink.
He was more just running water lines.
Right. He would do all the rough end stuff and all the prep, and then a different crew would come in and do the finishing work.
Right.
That was on the stuff. So because the company that he worked for did specialize that. Which is a pretty, if you've got the volume to do it, it's a smart business technique because you got guys that are super good at one particular job. They can go in there, get the job done, and get the fuck out of there.
Right.
And you can, as the business, you're like, I can do something in 3 days with 2 crews that would take me 4 days with 1 crew. So I'm saving a whole day of labor.
Right. Because you can pay by the job, not by the hour.
Right. And that means I can get a second job in this week. Instead of only having 1 job a week, I can have 2 jobs a week that we work on or whatever. And so it's a smart business tactic or whatever. But it's anyway, I don't know. I don't know. Again, the future, trying to figure out what the future is going to look like if we, don't nuke each other to death over the next decade. I don't know. I don't know that it matters anymore. And I hate to say it like that, but I really don't know that it, with the technology where it is now and where it's going to be over the next whatever, there's part of me that I'm if this shit kicks in July and takes hemp off the market, and as the things settle down and stuff like that, it just gets to the point where I can't function and I've got to shut the stores down, which means I got to go find a job.
I saw a story about, I think, more legislators that are leaning more towards medicinal, but they said we're still looking at a few more years before that may come into play.
I don't, whatever. It doesn't matter because once it gets to that level, I'm out of the game anyway. That's going to kill the game for me. Whether it's medicinal, even in full rec in Tennessee, would probably kill the game for me.
Yeah.
Where we're at is the only thing that's going to keep me functionally alive because I have the competitive advantage of understanding the way the law works. Where a lot of the big players from out of state don't want to fuck with it because it's a complicated version of it. So anyway, whatever. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We've been over it a million times. Last call, buddy. Anything else?
Yeah, let's not talk about AI. Well, I guess, but you see there was a viral video. I think it was a restaurant here in the U.S. where they had some kind of robot that was doing stuff, and apparently it started going rogue, and it was the employees that were trying to kind of rein it in and get it to stop fucking shit up, where it was knocking plates over and stuff.
So it was an AI video?
No, it's actually I was wrong. It's not. I guess it's semi-AI because it's an autonomous robot that's, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Right now we're at a spot where we're not good at it yet, but it works some of the time.
Yeah. And
it's just a matter of tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, but we're right there. We're I don't know what job's left other than, hey, do this. But if that's literally all it is the initiation of the idea and then the machine takes over from there, what does that do to employment? because
some of it opens up other avenues, but
I've got a 3D printer. I've got I've got a 3D printer. I've got this. I've got that. All I need to do is think a thought, and it prompted into the machine, approve the result, and all those things are done. And that goes from a consumable good. I want a consumable good. Back to the Future's got the food printer. Yeah. Or whatever, like that kind of stuff. Like I don't see that as particularly far off. And so, what does that do to work? Because, hell, at this point, it's like, okay, AI, create me the schematics for a food printer. And it's like, realistically, like, what technology is missing? Like what specific technology is missing from the capability of doing that particular thing? It's like, well, we have 3D printers, so we got to figure out how to basically replace the spool on a 3D printer with something that will create the food part of it that is an edible thing. And it's like, well, make me a burger, and it's going to be able to do it. And so it's just a matter of picking apart these tiny little bits of the technology that are combining the technologies that already exist into a theoretical new technology, but it's not really a new technology. It's just putting the parts and pieces together.
Kind of in that same line, I think there was legislation that passed trying to outlaw any lab-grown meat in the state, of being sold in the state.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one, too.
I don't have an issue with it. If it's cheap and we can get, and it's nutritious and there's no actual safety issue with it. If it's getting more food on the market, by all means.
Right. That's the part to me that's concerning is is it the long-term effects kind of thing? That is truly, I agree. That's a concern I have with synthetic versions of things.
Right.
Is it good? Is it functionally the same? And are all the macros and micronutrients and proteins and all those things, does it produce the same functional effect on your body as eating a real steak versus a lab-grown steak? Okay, that's cool. But is there any long-term genetic issue that will pile up over time that we don't understand or know about yet? That's what always kind of freaks me out about it. I don't have an issue with eating animals. I don't have an issue with killing animals in the format of that. But again, on an economic level, sure. Because the way our system, I don't know, because I would assume it's more of a protection. It's protectionism for a.
It's trying to protect the beef industry, I think, mainly. But
which fuck those guys.
Even look at poultry, but even on kind of like a food health issue. It's been the issue with like turkey and chicken for years, as far as like the producers or growers of chicken. We're giving them all these crazy chemicals to make the chicken breast like 5 times the size they should be.
Yeah. Do the math on it.
But it's like, what kind of chemicals are still in that meat that you're then eating downstream? Yeah.
Again, and I guess to be fair to the lab-grown argument, It's like, can it be worse than our farm-grown, our factory farms functional meat at the same time?
You got all sorts of antibiotics because beef industry's had multiple issues of outbreaks of different things. Yeah. So they're just pumping and full all sorts of antibiotics because animals becoming more, or bacteria itself is becoming more resistant.
Right, but you get into all sorts of stuff that's got so many layers of and again, this is one of the government issues that's got so much depth and complication. All these farm subsidies and stuff like that. It's like, what level of weirdness is this whole corn subsidies and stuff like that? It's like, can you sell the corn or not? If you can't sell the corn, don't plant the corn. If you need to, if you have you watched Clarkson's Farm? Jeremy Clarkson?
I think I've seen a couple of
Amazon
clips,
series.
Right.
And it's very interesting to there's one of the guys that's on there with him. He's got the kid that's the farmer that actually knows how to farm, and then he's got the business guy, and this guy's specialty is helping farmers function within the systems and run farms and stuff like that. And there's a whole episode where he's talking about how the British government changed their subsidy on this thing, and that's a huge deal. And it's like, what fucking weird planet are we on where it matters what the government is subsidizing for you to be able to grow and sell food? There's a whole bunch.
A lot of farmers, they're right there on the edge of making money and not making money.
Agreed. But is is the subsidy the reason they're on the edge, or is it the reason they get over the edge, or is it
something that helps them not go in the black, I guess?
But it's like how then
or into the red.
Then it's not a profitable business. Like again, like it's weird. The premise to me that like okay, so we really
some
need
things
to
are just they're extremely variable.
Well, it's like, but I guess the question is, it's like okay, if we need to subsidize the farmer to grow the food so that the food is affordable for people to eat, I'm not sure, like I don't know where the right place to inject that is.
Right.
Like where do we inject the funding to?
It's cheaper on the taxpayer, but at the same time you're paying taxes to help kind of fund that.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And so like, and what different functional level is it? Does any of it make sense? Because it's just it's a chicken or the egg all the way through the process. It's
right.
like which one's well, if we took this one out, if we take the subsidy out, but then took less of your taxes, would you be able to afford a more expensive ear of corn? You know, like at the end of the day, I'm paying whatever the corn's worth. It's just whether I'm paying it directly to the grocery store for the food, or whether I'm paying a subsidized rate for the corn, but my taxes are paying it on the other side.
Right.
And so it's like I don't know which one it is. All right, we went long.
Let's see here. We got an England superfan hoping to sell a house to fund his World Cup holiday. Boom, boom. One hardcore England fan hopes to sell a house to fund his World Cup trip this summer.
To come to America? Come on, man.
Let's see. Says he's ready to cash in on a second residency so he can afford to follow the soccer tournament in the U.S., Mexico, and
You're
Canada.
selling a second home. I don't care about you.
Yeah. This will be his 10th World Cup, 9th for the men's, plus the 2023 Women's World Cup. He has become a cult figure among England fans, often seen holding a replica World Cup trophy. What? And he lives in Thailand. What? He's been renting out a house in northern England, and he hopes to sell for about $465,000.
That's it?
Yeah, it's actually kind of small. I would have thought maybe more.
I mean, if you can't go to the World Cup, I don't know. Like that's one of the things they're talking about is how expensive those tickets are. I mean, you should be pretty good with $500,000.
A very interesting story that was talking about. I'm trying to remember what they were comparing it to. That was kind of like a little bit better way of selling tickets. Because I think on one of them, that the World Cup's doing now, it wasn't figurines, but it was something kind of like arbitrary. That you bought that, but that kind of like got you a spot basically to be able to buy tickets like once they went on sale.
I see. The solution is it's in-person day of.
Nah, it's not possible. Nobody's going to travel to a place at the potential of maybe or maybe not getting a ticket.
Okay. But then, I mean, you got, no scalper is going to no scalper's going to go wait in line day of to buy a ticket, then to turn around and go to the end of the line to sell it. Maybe,
depending on what the market value is.
I mean, yeah, but the number, the potential, your ability to well, you with a max number of tickets you're allowed to buy kind of shit. It would be a much less profitable game for scalpers to do. You can buy 4 tickets max, and it's got to be the day of. So you're gambling on being early enough in line to buy 4 tickets to go to the end of the line to sell those 4 tickets for more than you paid for them, but you're only going to get 4 tickets worth.
Oh man, you get some of those hooligans, some shit's gonna go down.
Maybe.
I guess the way they have it set up now, like each country, I guess it's playing in that match gets like a 15 or 20% of the tickets, like guaranteed, that's supposed to go towards their fans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out the best way to do it because it's been an issue, especially with other like big sports and things like that.
Concerts, the same thing. It's like I'd be curious, like on like the Eras tour for
that's Swifties
for the Swifties. Like they said, I can't remember how many $1 billion they said that. I think they said the whole tour in total was like almost $1 trillion.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like it was some ridiculously large number. And that's what Taylor Swift and the production team and all the people that put it on collected in ticket sales and merch sales and all that kind of crap. I would be curious how much, if there's a way to calculate how much aftermarket combined ticket sales went for. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so, okay, well, if the total number of tickets sold at face value was $1 billion.
How much were the resale market?
Right. And so that $1 billion gets sold, and some percentage of those tickets get resold. How much was made in the middle ground? And it might not be bad for, like, I don't know. Like, I'd be curious of the economic impact across the board of that conversation, because it might actually be a net bonus to the overall economy, because those scalpers making that money and then going out and spending that money living their lives, it's work, it's a job, they're getting paid, they're paying other people, they're buying things. So maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. I'd be curious if anybody's done any research on that.
All right, we'll stick in the soccer/football.
All right, let's stay sports relative.
Yeah, one of Germany's most storied sports trophies was believed to have been stolen and melted down. Now it's turned up in the champion team's own basement. A 4-month saga took an unusual turn when Germany's it's their handball team, reported that the large silver dish, which was missing from its offices in November, had been found stashed in a basement storage area.
That's hilarious.
The club believes the suspect stole the trophy from its offices, then hid it to retrieve it later, but decided against doing so because of media attention around the theft.
That's not as hilarious as
I thought. It was valued at around $13,900 as of 2014.
For a handball trophy. Yep. If we could spend 10% of the energy we spend on sports in general on politics and governance, it'd be a better world. Because a $13,000 handball trophy. Well, all right, friend. That was a fun one. Anything else before we call it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's the show, everybody. All right, UT's sniffing an upset right here. I'm excited about it. They're sniffing on an upset. Before this releases, we will know the answer, but you won't. Well, you will too. Whatever, you get it. Almost Agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to our website, almostagreement.com. Take over there. The 14th of April is the date. The correct date is the 14th of April. If I said the wrong date before, I apologize. Mayoral debate with an open bar, which I think it might be the first one. Not an open bar, excuse me. A cash bar. You got to buy your own drinks. But there will be a bar that is actively open for you to buy things from whilst you partake in the debate and viewing and whatnot. So it may be the first of its kind. I don't know. Hopefully we'll start a trend. We'll make it a thing. Almost Agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, website. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Like, friend, share, follow. Text your friends. Do what you can to support the show. We appreciate y'all. We're going to be back next week with more stuff to talk about. Bye, everybody.